What is going on, and welcome back to another episode of I Coach Nutrition Radio. Excited to dive into yet another topic here. This time we're going to be diving into the top 3 characteristics of successful clients. Now, this is based off 10 years of experience of working with literally over 1,000 people one-on-one, all different types of people, all different backgrounds, all different circumstances. But ultimately, these are the top 3 characteristics that define what a successful client embodies. Okay. So the top 3 things are going to be that they are coachable, that they are good communicators, and that they are consistent. Now, let's dive into this and break it down a little bit more. Being coachable, right? This is something that there's a lot of different things that go into this, right? But ultimately, you've got to be able to trust the process, right? If you sign up to work with a coach and you're just constantly questioning the process, right, and questioning the strategy and questioning the way that you're going about this, then you're not going to be successful, right? Because there's going to be so much doubt that you're not going to actually follow through with the things that you're being asked to do. And ultimately, you're going to then start to self-sabotage. You're going to come up with all of these excuses as to why you can't do what you're being asked to do. So being coachable is extremely important, right? And this is something that, if you think about any other area of your life, this is going to, be true as well. Like anything worth doing in life takes hard work, and you have to be coachable. I mean, if you're going to hire a coach, why would you not be coachable? Right? If you're going to hire a coach, why would you not trust in the process? Right? At the end of the day, before you hire a coach, before you invest in yourself, you should have done your homework already, right? You should have been following this person on social media. You should have been asking, before you sign up, the people that they've already worked with, you should have been asking to chat with them. You should be asking them questions. You should basically be making sure that before you start the process and before you invest in working with a coach, that you are 100% bought in, right? Because again, just signing up for a coach, I mean, they're not a savior, right? Like you have to put in the work. You can't just pay for your health. You can't pay for weight loss. You can't pay to have your dream body. Like that's not how it works, right? You have to actually put in the work. And so I could be the world's leading nutritionist. I could give you the best plan in the world, but I can't hold your hand. Like you have to be the one that actually goes out there and puts in the work. All right. So you've got to be coachable. That's number one. Number two, you've got to be a good communicator, right? What I mean by this is that I can't read your mind, right? Coaches can't read clients' minds. Now, based off experience, I can know quite a bit, and I can kind of know how to work through different situations and scenarios there, and I can kind of foresee things coming, right? And I can be able to, truly meet you where you are and help you to take you where you want to be. But ultimately, you have to be a good communicator, right? I don't know how you're feeling, right? And you need to be able to communicate, how are you feeling? How are things going? What do you like? What do you not like? Right? And we ultimately have to be able to communicate with each other, and we have to be on the same page, right? If you think about any type of coach and athlete in any type of sport, right? A lot of the success of that team comes down to the communication between the coach and the athletes, right? They have to have good communication. They have to be on the same page, right? If not, they're going to be working in different directions and ultimately not going to get to that end goal. I tell clients all the time, your success is my success, right? I can't be successful unless I help you to become successful, right? And so we have to be able to communicate. We have to be on the same page. A lot of that communication comes into the tracking, right? I have clients use a bunch of different tracking tools in order to help them build awareness and to ultimately give both me and them the data that we need to assess on a week-to-week basis. We do things like check-in forms. We use habit trackers. We use food logging apps. We use food and drink picture log assessments, right? We use all of these different tools, excuse me. And ultimately, there are some people out there, they'll start working with a coach and they won't use these tools, right? They won't do what's being asked of them. This kind of goes back into being coachable, right? But ultimately, when it comes to communication, a big part of the communication is in tracking, right? What doesn't get tracked doesn't get changed. And if you're not tracking, you're not going to be able to build the awareness that you need to start to transform your habits in your life. And ultimately, by building good habits and getting rid of bad habits, that's ultimately how you reach your goal. That's how you get results, right? So that's number two. You have to be a good communicator, right? You have to work hard to be a good communicator. You have to make being a good communicator a priority. All right. So number one, you got to be coachable. Number two, you've got to be a good communicator. And number three, you've got to be consistent, right? We are in a world where culture tells us that if we do something good one time or for a week, that we should be getting results. And the expectation there is one that will set you up for failure, right? The reality of it is that we are combating years and years and years, if not decades, of beliefs and traits and skill sets and habits, right, that you've formed, some good, some bad. And ultimately, you're not going to be able to transform these things overnight or in a week or in a month, despite what these 7-day meal plans and 30-day challenges tell you. Right? You're not going to be able to just take a pill or get a surgery done and that transform your habits, transform your life. It's not going to happen. Right? So when you think about being consistent, I build this out always for clients as, hey, you need to think about this being a commitment for the next year of your life, right? Because at the end of the day, what's 1 year in the grand scheme of a whole entire lifetime? If you've battled your weight, if you've been constantly in this cycle of starting and stopping diets, losing weight only to gain it back plus more, time after time after time after time again, what is 1 year in terms of commitment versus the last 10, 20, 30 years that you've been battling this, right? If you could dedicate 1 year of your life to getting the education, the tools, the support, the accountability that you need to ultimately be successful for the rest of your life, would that be worth it, right? And the answer 9 times out of 10 is yes. But you've got to be consistent. I don't mean that you have to be perfect, but you do have to be consistent, right? And so when I talk about being consistent, I talk about being consistent in terms of being coachable, being consistent with being open-minded, right? And being coachable, being consistent with being a good, consistent communicator, being consistent with all of these different things that you are expected to do in order to get the results that you're looking to get. Because if you're not consistent, ultimately what ends up happening is you complain about the results that you're not getting for the work that you're not willing to do. And that's the harsh reality of it, right? It's no different for you or me or anybody else, right? I have worked with so many coaches. I have a coach right now currently. I can't complain about the results that I don't get for the work that I'm not willing to do, right? And the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result. For those of you that have tried every diet under the sun and it worked, quote unquote, right? You lost weight really fast, right? But then you just gained the weight back. It didn't work, right? And most of the clients that come to me are seeking weight loss. But what they've learned is that they've tried everything, right? And they're seeking a different result. They're seeking something that's actually sustainable for the rest of their life. They know that they can do these quick fixes, these fad diets. They know they can do, these things for a short period of time, but ultimately it ends up not being sustainable for the rest of their life. And that's the biggest problem with this, right? You've got to find something, you've got to build something out that you're actually going to be consistent with the majority of the time for the rest of your life. Because the second that you stop being consistent is the second that you lose the results. Right now, it typically takes time to lose the results, right? It's something that doesn't just happen overnight either. But it is kind of amazing if you think about it, how fast you lose the results in terms of how long it takes to get the results, right? Assuming that you actually did it in a healthy, sustainable way. So here's what I'll say. The top 3 characteristics of what makes a successful client are, number 1, they are coachable. They trust the process, right? They've invested in a coach that they trust. So therefore they trust the process. Therefore, they're willing to put in the work that it takes to get the results that they want to get. Number 2, they're good communicators. They're constantly in communication with their coach, right? Giving feedback, right? Asking questions, right? When they, here's a perfect example of this. When it comes to a check-in form, clients that are good communicators are those that actually take the time to ask good questions. They give lots of feedback, right? They give long responses in the questions that are asked of them, not just one-word answers, right? They actually take the time to reflect back on their week and they answer their questions honestly and openly. They're very, they put intent into their questions and answers, right? And number 3, consistency. Consistency is the name of the game. If you can't be consistent for a long enough time to get the results that you're looking for, then you're setting yourself up for failure from the very beginning. Now, when it comes to consistency, again, you need to make sure that the approach is actually sustainable from the first place. All right, anybody can do something for a day or a week or a month, but the reality of it is are you setting yourself up for long-term success? And that's the question you've got to ask yourself. So look around, look at the people that are successful with working with a coach, right? And if you've ever worked with a coach before, think about these people. What are the traits? What are the skill sets? What are the personality types that are characteristic of obtaining success? Right? And you've got to think to yourself, what do I need to do? What type of person do I need to become, right, to reach the result that I want to get? Because ultimately, as I always say, what is preventing you from becoming the person that you want to become, you're either lacking a belief, a trait, or a skill set. You are right here as person A. In order to become person B, you're lacking a belief, a trait, or a skill set, or multiple of the 3, right? So meet yourself where you are in this journey. Look at yourself in the mirror. Be very, very honest and open and transparent and vulnerable. Be coachable, right? Be a good communicator. And ultimately make sure that the things are being asked of you, that you're actually being consistent with these things. You're consistently putting in the effort. You're consistently putting in the work. There's no expectation ever to be perfect, right? But the more effort you put forth, the better results that you get. And at the end of the day, you can't complain about the results that you don't get for the work that you're not willing to do. It's like anything else in life. Nothing's going to be handed to you on a silver platter. Right. And that's the biggest difference in a lot of clients that I work with that come to me with money, right? Because they've been able to use money to buy everything in their life. And the reality of it is you can't buy your health. You can't buy your dream body, right? You just can't. You have to actually put in the work. So I'll leave it at that. A little bit of a rant here today, but just wanted to share what I believe are the top 3 characteristics of what makes a successful client. If you have any questions, please shoot me a text, shoot me a message here on social media, comment below, let me know. More than happy to discuss, more than open to feedback here on this. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I want every client that I work with to be successful. And those that are successful are always those that are coachable, good communicators, and consistently putting in the work that it takes to reach their goals. All right. Awesome, guys. Hey, y'all have an amazing Sunday. Hope you are enjoying your time with your family and friends. And I hope y'all have an amazing week. Thanks, guys. Bye.